And good evening. No special intro going on here tonight. We're just going to jump right into things. We got Brian from BlastBeatATX, and the ATX stands for Austin, Texas. Brian,
live from the capital city.
Brian runs an e-store where he sells comic books and cards, and you've got some market report stuff too that you've worked up for us. So this is a new kind of thing for us now. Normally we're crowdfunding or we're talking with movie directors, so always thinking, always expanding. We can make this, as regular as you want it to be.
Oh, very. I am on that store all the time. It started as a hobby, and I've been collecting my whole life, and now it has turned into a legit business. And what's it still saying? If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. I'm finally living a little bit of that.
That's what they say, man. So those are not long white boxes behind you, I guess. Those are like on their side magazine kind of boxes that you can pull out more easily.
And if everyone wants their pro tip for the evening, these were bought at IKEA. So everyone has an IKEA semi near them or can order it. And yeah, we got the camera's backwards here. We got the old magazine boxes, and I have them separated by series, publisher, some kind of organizational group. And the big shelves, they're connectable and go down the wall and everything. But basically, this stuff here is the personal collection, the reading library, the stuff I want to keep. The stuff that's for sale is in long boxes in another room.
All right. So, yeah, because mine is all, the stuff I want to keep is in long boxes, but by golly, every time I want to get to something, it's always, 4 boxes down and in the middle of the whole stack, and I got to rearrange the room to get to them. They fit, the shelf is made to fit the width of several of those things without a gap.
I can count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 across.
So 8 across. It looks like it'd be about the length of a long box.
About that, yeah. Each one holds 25 to 30, depending on if it's an annual or whatever.
All right. Well, it would be an expense to get out there and hook up. Like I said, let's see, 25 long boxes. That'd be a lot to buy.
It's worth it though, especially if you're in the military or something where you're traveling a lot. This isn't a good idea. If you're settling down and this is where I live and all that, I highly, highly, highly recommend it.
The long boxes don't travel all that well either. They've gotten beat up on the back of more semi trucks than I can count.
Well, I also heard a story once. Okay, so everyone knows Cypress Hill and Be Real, the lead rapper, right? He's friends with the guy Everlast from the House of Pain. And Everlast is into those Randy Bowen sculptures, the really detailed, fancy ones. And there's another friend he had, some DJ guy. The DJ guy just has boxes of records that are taking over his living room, and they're wrapped around and stacked up. And Everlast has these nice glass cases for his statues. So it's one of those that the presentation matters, at least to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to have nice glass cases for statues and comic book stuff. And then the family expanded by one by my own choice. I asked her to join it. and suddenly the living room decorations were less comic book friendly.
Imagine that.
I don't know how that worked. I was like, where did my Sandman statue go, and how come I've got these 2 little bubble-headed dolls holding hands here made out of porcelain from Precious Moments?
Sometimes that's for the best, because when you have people come over and your living room looks like how it does now, that it's like, okay, you live on planet Earth and not planet comic book store, It has a purpose.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And she always says, we're having guests over tonight. Do not rush them down to your man cave right away.
Yeah.
Can we just have one night where you don't show off your comic book collection?
Give me 24 hours, please. That's all I ask.
It never works. Because that's all I talk about is, hey, what we're doing on the site. Like I'm going to talk right now about the things we got coming up for reviews. 7 Good Reasons Not to Grow Up by Jimmy Gauntlet.
That's a new one to me.
Oh, it's not out yet.
Oh, there we go.
I'm in the advance on this one, and Jimmy's going to be on our show October 30th at 7 p.m. Central Time, talking about this. He's the guy behind Amelia Rules. Excellent guy who knows how. He doesn't just tell a good story. He knows how to use the comic book medium to do it. It's not just an illustrated story. It's the comic book is the only way you could have done it. Hey, Bap2, good to see you in the chat tonight. put your wallet away tonight. We're not, unless you go to the eBay store, in which case you're on your own, pal.
Oh, yeah.
And then this just came in earlier this afternoon. This is Mary, The Adventures of Mary Shelley's great-great-great-great-great-granddaughter. This is
looks interesting. Aldros, right off the bat, that looks interesting.
Yeah, that's why I said to send it along. This is by Bria Grant, Emmy-nominated television writer, and Yishan Lee, who's done some work for DC and IDW. I've read it already. I need to read it again one other time and get a review out tonight on it. Basically, the whole Shelley line has been writers, and Mary doesn't want to, but Mary finds out she's got a talent. She can heal monsters, and the monsters know it. So whether she wants to or not, they keep searching her out.
Yeah, she knocks on the door and that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And her mother's like all into herself. Her mother's writing a book series like the Murder She Wrote series called Crimes She Solved. And her name is Tawny Shelley, and her main character's name is Tawny Shelley. So yeah, it's she's a little narcissistic there. And then we got this one here, which I'm not sure how to go about reading. The Star Wars Book of Lists. It's too nice to leave on the sink in the bathroom, but this is definitely what you would have for a bathroom reader, because it's like, turn anywhere, read the list on that page. This one's really a stretch. I mean, sticking the landing, types of landing gear, and different ways ships can land in Star Wars.
Huh.
Or hidden homes, characters' homes that are purposely hard to find.
Out of curiosity, is that the classic trilogy or is that everything?
I'm assuming this is everything.
Everything? Yeah, that's going to get complicated.
Because, it just came out, so why wouldn't it include everything? Plus, it's Disney.
They're going to try to maximize the dollar and all that good stuff.
And then Robert Greenberg, last but not least, is going to keep me busy with the Flash 100 Greatest Moments, adding on to the series of 100 Greatest female DC female superheroines, in which they included some villains, 100 Greatest Justice League Moments, 100 Greatest Batman Moments. I don't mind having a library of that. That's also fun. Just open it anywhere and start reading kind of thing. You don't have to start from the beginning. Oh, and we did have one more. I'm sorry. I have 2 stacks of books over here going, and they just keep on coming. Under the Cape. It's an anthology of superhero romance from Riverdale Avenue Books. 20 stories in here. I think it's 20 stories. Might be a little less. No, it's 11. 11 original romances. They are, male, female, 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 male, male. There's something in here for everybody. And it's, superhero on superhero snogging. So we'll see. If that's your thing, then go with it.
Well, at least it's not the same old stuff where you get 2 pages into it. It's, I know how this ends. I know what's going to happen. That gets old.
Yes. Oh God, it does. And that's what you read the alt nets for on Usenet. So just go there and get it over with. So what's going on tonight, Brian? You got some market information you want to bring to us?
Yes. BlastBeat Industries, BlastBeatATX. I kind of have 2 names. I've been running this eBay store since November of 2018. So basically 2 years now. And it has taken on a life of its own. What started as a hobby and something to do after work and after school has blossomed in ways that I didn't see. And in the last, 60 days or so, I've really stepped it up. I was have you ever heard of, they called it in radio and in music, you pyramid the singles. So you got the new album, the new REM or whatever, and if you got 3 singles, 3 hits on there, you want to do the weakest one first, the middle one second, and then save that best song for last to try to max. So I stole their idea and tried to get rid of my low tier stuff. And kept a lot of customers, got a lot of repeat customers. They like the way I do business and the customer experience. And so I'm stepping it up a little bit at a time, and it's going well. So, hey, thanks to everyone who's shopping with me.
So is that your full-time job now, or are you still working a couple different things?
No, I am, okay. Like everyone else, life got a little weird because of the virus and the lockdown and the limited transportation and everything. I have been in college the last 2 years. I'm going to finally graduate this December. I was supposed to graduate in May, but I'm on the job hunt for civil drafting. I'm changing industries, and this was to help pay the bills and cover expenses in school, but it's just something I'm just going to stick with the rest of the way. I'd be at home doing this anyway for free if computers didn't exist, so I might as well make some money at it.
Absolutely, might as well. So you are on top of then, what's trending with comics in the aftermarket, what's trending with sports cards, what music, vinyl records?
Yes.
I don't know what all you cover.
The music thing is that I guess that was my first degree, was journalism and a minor in English. And for a couple, like 2 months, 3 months, I'd worked for a local paper in East Texas, and I was writing articles of like flu shots available at Walgreens, the girls' volleyball teams going to state. It's stuff that people who enjoyed it, needed the information on that, but it was not fulfilling at all. So I made the decision, I'll get a job, I'll pay my bills that way, and that way I could just write about music. And I did that for 10 straight years and had a blast, but another opportunity came up. And do we want to get into that now, or do we want to save that?
Go wherever you want to go.
Get into that now. I, by pure sheer accident, had worked for a company here in Austin that was a trailblazer in e-retail commerce. That they called it e-specification, that we can have a mass production model to customize items for the customer. And at the time when I went back to college, like I said earlier, I had to leave the full-time job. I had a handshake agreement with them that I'm going to use their business model, but I'm not going to spill the secrets of how it works, because a lot of that's proprietary. And the point is it's full 21st century. I have no interest in getting a brick and mortar store. When life gets back to normal next year, I might start doing tables at conventions and that kind of thing, but I can run this thing by myself, especially with the cards. Our man Jeff Bagwell here, the Houston Astros, I want to be the only person who handles the card until I give it to you, the customer. We don't need 5 different sets of hands ruining the card, and it goes for everything. But so there's a collectible side to music, but I've been collecting this stuff since I was a kid. And then with the e-retail knowledge, just kind of combined it all together.
Yeah, there's we do the bi-weekly LCS guys show, and Michael Tierney is one of our local comic shop guys who is part of that. And during the course of since we started, he actually closed both of his brick and mortar stores. Ironically, he was the only one who was allowed to be open during all the COVID shutdowns. He just didn't have product because Diamond shut down. He was doing it all back issue, but everybody else was having, COVID issues. His part-time employees, and he couldn't afford to keep them all on. They were all looking for other jobs. Everything opened back up, and he's like, "Okay, we're open back up." And they're like, "Well, that's good, but I've already got another place where I'm working." The lease was just coming due, and he's like, "If there was ever a good sign where everything's in alignment to stop, this was the place to do it." And he just, called it quits, took the offers that he had on the stores, and now he does it mail order from his house.
And probably didn't really miss a beat, did he?
No, it just cut it right there. And I think he kept a lot of his inventory in warehouses, so he's got stuff to sell in back issue. He's doing the eBay thing. I don't know if he's anything organized like you got back there, but maybe when he sees the show.
This is just the beginning of the organization thing. I guess that's another key to my success is it's almost obsessive. Like my record collection's alphabetized. These are all organized. The sports cards are all broken down by sport, by team, by player. If you can't find it, how are you going to sell it? So that's a big part of this for me.
Sure. Did you do you have a database for that kind of stuff so you know what you got?
not like an inventory one, but I'm meticulous about tracking the sales. Everything that's listed active right now, everything that has sold from, November 1st of 2018. I have complete sales data of what did and didn't sell, how much. The one I find fascinating is it's about a 50-50 split of I get one bidder or one buyer, and that's the price I list it for. But then the other half bidding wars break out and that kind of thing. So patterns emerge. To get back to your original question of am I paying attention to this stuff? The downside of the digital age is it changes so fast from moment to moment. For instance, if we can go ahead and start getting into some of the stuff, we live and breathe right now, my hometown team, the Houston Astros, are in a playoff game against the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. All right. So I got 4 cards here. We got Carlos Correa, shortstop of the Houston Astros. He hit the walk-off home run last night. Now, okay, last night was Thursday night. So Wednesday night, he hadn't hit the walk-off yet. That 24-hour difference makes a difference in sales, how much it goes for, demand, that kind of thing. So hopefully he has a good game tonight. Someone who is having a good game tonight is Tampa Bay Devil Rays starting pitcher Blake Snell. It's hilarious. If you watch any interviews with him or YouTube clips or something, he sounds like Eminem. He sounds like a rapper, but he's got that 100-mile-an-hour fastball, and he's having a really good game right now. So is Framber Valdez, who's the starting pitcher for the Astros. We got his rookie card right here. He started in the bullpen and became a starter this year, and he's got an unstoppable curveball. And finally, I know he's in a St. Louis Cardinals uniform, but oh Lord, his Randy Arozarena, I think. Okay, get up close there, and however you pronounce that. He got traded last year from the Cardinals to the Devil Rays. He has been giving the Astros fits the entire playoff. I think he's hit 5 home runs in 4 games or something like that. The point is these are in flux throughout the week. If you remember the old days of like Beckett and Wizard Magazine, and I had a subscription to those. You're waiting for it in the mailbox, and what changed. That is about as valuable as a telegraph. It changes minute to minute.
So when you have something like a baseball card, do you see fluctuations where you'll have it in your eBay store and you'll see bidding wars break out, and you're like, what just happened with this character, and have to go back and say, oh, I see he just did this, and now that's created this demand.
Yeah, especially with basketball, because the basketball is the NBA is a proper minor league now, the D League. For instance, in my area of the country, we're all San Antonio Spurs fans, but we have the Austin Spurs or the Austin Stars. We have a D League team, and I've had a couple times that some guy starts selling, and I'm like, what's happening here? He got called up to the big leagues, that sort of thing. Yes, and the opposite happens too. There's a player for the Los Angeles Dodgers, Mookie Betts. When he played for the Red Sox, I sold a lot of cards. He got traded to the Dodgers. His playing hasn't changed. He still has a high batting average and all that stuff, but I can't give him away right now. So why, I'm not sure, but yes, I noticed the patterns.
Okay. So does the same thing hold true in comics? I mean,
yes.
Comics, an old comic generally doesn't do anything in the news.
That's a weird one.
Things happen.
And now when I talk about this, I got a couple of examples here. I got a couple of examples of a lot of this stuff. This is a recent development over this summer. So I got 2 books here. We got Prophet number 5, which is from what? Wrong way. What am I going? Okay, 94, I think this came out. If all you old school guys remember Stephen Platt and his adventures at Image Comics, basically that would be the selling point of this is the Platt artwork, the story, so early Image stuff. But I've been selling these lately. We had a store here in town close last year, and they marked everything down to 10 cents. So anything of interest, I was pulling out trash bags of comic books and hauling them home. And I got a lot of these old Prophet issues, and they're taking off $5 a piece. The basic breakdown of this is for that $5, 2 of it I have to ship as a large envelope, and the other 3 I keep, and you get the comic book in your mailbox. But these have been selling, not for big bucks, but they have been selling. Now we have, it's upside down, The Web of Venom Unleashed. This is new school Marvel. woke Marvel, Disney Marvel. I can't give these away. There is zero interest in the big two stuff over the last 10 years. Now, you know what? This is actually worth. Let me pull it out of the bag and show you all the good stuff here.
Okay.
Marvel did a series of these special covers. This is the variant and all that when Stan Lee passed away. So it says it on here somewhere. Right here on the barcode. Variant edition. And I think this was 1 in every 5 or 1 in every 10. It was genuinely more limited than the regular cover. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. You know why? Because it's just the same old crap inside. This is the book that you get 2 pages into it, and it's, more of this, more of the alien symbiote, more of, there's zero interest in this, no matter what it lists for. I checked eBay before the show. I don't know, it's 5 o'clock, something like that. I'm in Texas, Central Time Zone. The highest this thing had sold for was $7 for the fancy version. And
That's not cover price.
Yeah, I was gonna say I paid $5 for it, brand new at the store. So, yeah. Now I'm not saying that the old stuff from the '90s and the things that 50 trillion copies were printed. Oh, that's your investment. No. It's just if you happen to have them and they've been in a closet for the last 20 years, you could probably sell them right now and get your money back. But the new Marvel and DC stuff is just a money pit.
A good run of a lot of the Image stuff from back in the day that I picked up on the cheap in bulk. Things like Stormwatch. I probably got almost a full run of that. And for a long time, it was dollar bin stuff.
Yeah.
But I think what's happening is that a lot of these old Image guys are now jumping into the crowdfunding scene, and they're finding their market again. And it's, people are like, I want to go back and get their original stuff. We saw it with Cyberfrog. Cyberfrog was dollar bin, quarter bin box stuff.
And now hard to find now.
Yeah.
And Dan Fraga's book, oh my Lord. Yes, yeah, that's another one that you used to see those all over the place, and they're kind of disappearing. And I don't think people are sending them to the grader. I think it's like what you said, is people discovered the new series, and it's let me go get the old one, and they want the whole run.
Yeah. We're very much OCD completionists in this collecting industry.
Well, and it's also, you don't want to have something that drove me crazy as a kid was, this would have been, if I got to bracket the years, let's say 87 and 93, that kind of, like out immediately after the Jim Shooter era, that they were trying to recapture the original Marvel spirit. And so you're reading a Spider-Man or whatever, and remember they'd have the little editorial box in the corner and say, this happened in issue 93.
Oh, yeah.
At 12 years old, where in the world am I going to get issue 93? There was 50 years of continuity you have to get caught up on. And at least here it's only like 10 years, but if you're actually reading and paying attention to the story and appreciating the artwork, it'd be like reading a novel and chapter 3 is missing. It's not completionist as more as I would like to have the whole picture.
Well, there is a lot of continuity to have to go back to. I mean, a lot of times you pick up a character or a book and you get the little surprise off-panel word balloon and turn the page. You're like, oh my God, it's you. And editorial would say, we haven't seen her since. That didn't ruin the story. It just told you the last time that, this character had been seen. But you didn't
hear
back and get stuff like that.
Click on Venom and Marvel some more, as they did that in this book. Let me find the page real quick. Where is it? I know everyone came to watch me flip through this right here. Okay, this middle panel in this page. I'm gonna get that box right there. Can everyone see that? Am I messing?
It's not going to focus. It's not going to focus, Brian.
But it's that box there. Let me read it. Don't recognize these machines? Maybe go check out Venom Lethal Protector #1 to refresh your memory. This came out in 2019. That came out in 1993. That's kind of asking a lot for the reader, isn't it?
Yeah, that's too long ago.
Yeah, that's a whole different generation of people.
Yeah, somebody was really reaching back into the past to find a character that hadn't been used or a thing that hadn't been used yet.
And going back to I'm a professional writer, guys. I'm a published author. I'm not glorified fan fiction, right? That seems very, very gimmicky to me. That is intentionally trying to reach back and capture someone else's glory. Tell your own story.
Oh, oh, you're hurting me. You're hurting me. Yeah, because this is book number 150.
Ah,
this is
the Destroyer. Well, this
is my first one. So,
does anyone remember the Remo Williams movie? I love that movie.
I've got it on Blu-ray, and I reached back to Destroyer number 9 to pull somebody out of obscurity for this thing.
But I would put that in the category of Conan, where if you're into the Destroyer, you're like into the Destroyer, and that's probably not a big deal. The difference I see between that and this is there was a Venom movie, what, a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever. And so there was probably a whole wave of people that saw the Venom movie, wanted to check out the comic books, and 1993, what, I'd put those in two different situations. But that's just me. I overthink that stuff.
If it doesn't matter, you know what? If they hadn't put that box that said, if you don't recognize these characters, go back to this book. If they had not said that, the reader would have said, whoa, who are these characters? And then the next word balloon, the next panel should have said, it's whoever they are, whatever these machines are.
Yeah, whatever they were.
And the story just continues, and there's no hiccup, there's no pause, there's no sending you back to look for old comics. Because why would do that anyway? Marvel doesn't make any money on back issues. They've already sold that comic.
That's what I mean. It's giving, and I'm not sitting here trying to slam the creative team. I'm making the point of that kind of stuff affects the value of the book. That's why there's a trillion of these on eBay that nobody wants. It's unpleasant. It's an unpleasant reading experience.
Well, they haven't gotten any better, have they? I mean, they're still printing a lot of books that just don't sell. I mean, Donny Cates is on Venom now, and that's obviously taking off. His name carries a lot of weight, but there's still plenty of books that aren't.
He's also one of the he's not the worst one. I can't think of the names. There's so many people that like. There's a phrase for it. We're changing the characters. Where we got let's not split hairs about it, but intentionally deviating away from the tradition to like try to make a name for themselves, or this is my era of the book. And I don't think that serves the Marvel universe. And is that a polite way of saying it?
Yeah, they make the character act out of character because
there we go.
An opportunity to put their words in his mouth.
Yep. And doing things just to do it for no reason.
I agree. Now, the aftermarket for comic books, obviously we think of we went to the comic book store, we bought a comic book, we're done with it, we sell it on eBay. But now that there's this crowdfunding thing going on, have you seen, is it old enough yet to have an aftermarket trend for any of the crowdfunded stuff? Or do we need to wait another 10 years?
For all of crowdfunding on the internet altogether, but I'm a big fan of Alterna comics. Literally above my head right here, we got 2 boxes of Alterna stuff. So I've been paying attention to what's been happening to their back issues. And to my knowledge, none of the Alterna titles have been optioned for movies or sitcoms or video games. They're purely comic books. And some of the titles are taking off. Blood Realm is one that has a big fan base and a lot of interest in it. Mighty Mascots does, Tinseltown does, and these are all very different kind of stories and genres and all that. And say that it's $2, that's kind of their price point, $2, $1.50. They'll go for $3, $4, nothing crazy, but I can see the water starting to boil. I can see more and more people getting into it. And it goes back to what we said earlier about being the completionist of, I've got volume 2. I want to get volume 1. Let's go get it. So I can't predict where this is going, but it's definitely something to pay attention to. And yeah, this is a new ball game with the crowdfunding because
it's kind of a different mix because they crowdfund, but they also are available in comic shops. So your guy walking off the street and buy one, and I'm glad that there is an aftermarket for Alterna, because it shows that there's a long-term interest and people are filling in their collecting holes, and they want to usually if you want to fill in the back, you want to keep going forward with the new. But I was thinking more along stuff that only crowdfund can handle. Things like your Cyber Frog, things like your Jawbreakers kind of stuff, where there never was a shelf display for them. Thank you, Mark Wade.
The situation I see with that is the pure crowdfunded books, that this is the only outlet for it. That's the downside too, is this is the only outlet for it. So I would compare it to touring. I compare everything to music, right? So your favorite band comes to town and they got the special limited edition shirt. If you don't go over there and get it right now, they're about to go to the next town and you won't get it again, or you have to pay big bucks for it on eBay. I see the same thing happening here, because they don't stay on sale forever. It's like these 90-day, 120-day windows, and then it's gone. They're on to the next project. And if you missed it, you missed it. And you can't go to the store and get it out of the long box.
And they didn't print 10,000 copies of it or 50,000 copies. They printed 612 copies of it, and everybody who bought one got one. Somebody bought two. That's the guy who's going to have something to put on eBay, because you're less likely to give up the one copy that you crowdfunded for a long time yet. So that's why I didn't know if there was even time to notice a trend in crowdfunded eBay books.
I need to pay attention to it more, but yes, there is, especially with the creators that worked for the big two, worked for Image, worked for IDW, made a name for themselves, and have then gone independent. They're bringing a lot of their fans with them. And yes, there is demand. People who, I was picking on Venom earlier. Let's praise Robert Geronimo in Blood Realm. I had never heard of him before I saw that book. And he has a unique art style. He's a personable guy. If you on his YouTube channel, he does online art lessons and that kind of thing. He is going to be building a fan base for life, and I maybe they're going to keep reprinting them and do the 16th printing of Blood Realm #1. But it'd be kind of like with the Turtles, with the Mirage issues in the 80s. There's 3,000 copies of #1, and that's it.
Yep, there's probably less than that now, because some of them got destroyed.
I heard a horror story of when Hurricane Katrina hit. Jello Biafra, the Dead Kennedys, he does a lot of spoken word stuff and activism. He went down there to cover the aftermath. And they're walking through, I think it was the 3rd Ward or somewhere in East New Orleans, where it got really messed up. And he's walking down the sidewalk, and there's boxes of records out there. And they're covered in mud and ick and whatever. He's looking through them, and they're like, this is a guy who knew his records. All this old metal and punk stuff, and it's gone forever.
Yeah. Entropy takes over.
Yeah.
So we just lose the stuff that's there. We've had Robert on the show before. I love his stuff, and he's a very engaging person. Of course, I close my eyes and I hear Ray Romano, but
I'll take that as a compliment.
We got to get him back on here too. Yeah. I was want to talk to the guys who do the Mighty Mascots, because there's a story just sitting there waiting to be done, where they could have the League of Substitute Mascots who've been put out of work, and by then I'd be looking at Aunt Jemima and Mrs. Butterworth.
Oh yeah, there's some more. Yeah, there was another one that they had to go away because he was offensive or whatever. I'm drawing a blank, but yeah, in the new Mighty Mascots series, gonna be video game villains or something. There's a lot of turns and twists they could take with that series. It looks exciting.
Oh yeah, a lot they can do with it. So if I were to want to get ahead of the curve on something right now, what are the things that are trending upward that you see continuing to trend upward, that now would be a good time to buy low, sell high kind of thing?
I've got my tip of the month right here, or the day, or whatever we're at. But before I get to that, let me tell you why. I think the easiest way for something to go up in value, it's not so much things go down, it's they stay the same. They settle into a price point, and that's where it's going to be for the next million years. So for things to go up, it's got to have that mainstream appeal, besides the collector's appeal and the real hardcore fans. And three letters you need to ask yourself about, no matter what genre, style, format, any of that. Why am I paying any attention to this at all? And a lot of it is that crossover appeal. So what do I think is an undervalued book? This one right here, Infinity Gauntlet #1.
Okay.
Because this is the infamous Thanos finger snap. In addition to being a #1, which is always a big seller, these are going raw. What the raw means ungraded. And I think in the slab, these go for like $200, $150. This is $60 ungraded. People love that movie. They love Avengers Endgame. I'm not saying it's the best one. You know, I'm not a filmmaking expert. I would say it's the most popular one. Either that, the Iron Man. And you know they can't resist revisiting this stuff. There's going to be 8 sequels and all that. $60 seems very undervalued to me. Another one that seems undervalued is the early issues of Spawn. And that's a weird situation because it's the early 90s. There's a billion of them out there, but they're starting to go away. That's a series that people get it and they hold on to it because they enjoy it, as opposed to a lot of these things, you know, they give to whatever, donate, you know, they circulate around, and those are, I see the potential there. Big 2 stuff, that's a weird situation because there's so many hard feelings about them right now. I think we're going to have to let the Twitterverse settle itself out before we start putting any price tags on anything.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't think DC books are going to be going on eBay. DC might be going on eBay. You know, if I could crowdfund, you know, $25-$30, I'd love to buy it away from AT&T and turn that around. But
same situation. My brother is a giant Star Trek fan, lifelong. He hates what's going on right now with all of the new Star Trek series. And the joke we have with each other is, can Congress, okay, you remember, I don't know, 5 years ago, whatever, that guy that owned the LA Clippers got in trouble with his mistress, and the NBA made him sell the team. Is that ringing a bell? Can we get Congress to make Viacom sell Star Trek to someone else, please?
Well, I think Star Trek's got the same problem that the mainstream comic book industry has right now. And I've said it before on Twitter, and I've had people tell me I'm wrong, but they haven't really proved it to me. And that is that the people who are making comic books today, and I'm talking about people who are in the editorial and publishing offices, not the actual writers themselves, we don't have Stan Lees and Roy Thomases. We don't have Dick Giordano's and Denny O'Neills. We don't have people who love comics and the characters in them. We have people who say, "Oh, this is an intellectual property. This is something we have to keep publishing the books so that we can retain use of the trademark, so that we can sell movies and T-shirts and lunchboxes." So whatever you want to get out there, as long as we get an Iguana Man book out there every month or two, throw something out there and sell it. Make it go. Make it good enough to sell, but it doesn't have to set the world on fire.
Now, that's the story of that awful Fantastic Four movie from like '92 or whenever it was. It was just a placeholder so Fox wouldn't lose the rights to the movie. We got to make something. That's the same attitude.
Well, that's why they kept bringing. Fred Hembeck did a cartoon, and you remember the Fred Hembeck cartoons in the back of Marvel all the time.
Oh yes,
even in the back of DC. He did one where there was, I don't even know the heroes that were involved except for Brother Voodoo. And they're like, "Oh, Brother Voodoo, haven't seen you in a while. What are you doing here?" He's like, "Well, it's been, X number of years since my last appearance, and Marvel has to show that they intend to use me to keep the trademark."
Yeah.
Right there in your face.
This might be a rumor or I misinterpreted something. Don't take this as gospel or fact. But I heard a story once upon a time that almost happened with Namor the Submariner, and Kevin Smith was trying like hell to buy it away from Marvel because they hadn't used it in a million years.
If you don't use it, you lose it.
Yep. But it opens up the door to a lot of substandard products that's not helping the future of the business. It's not helping the future of the art form. See, this is a weird critter, especially with the comic books. of its art and commerce together. And the best examples of it, you know, everything from Jack Kirby's Fantastic Four to Todd McFarlane's Spawn to, you know, Blood Realm that I keep talking about, is it's the combination of both. You can sell it off the shelf and appreciate it as art at home. And a lot of this, it seems like it's one or the other. It's this really underground striking. I'm Picasso meets, you know, Simon Bisley meets whatever, or Batman's going to stop the bank robbers for the trillionth time. You know, and can't it be something else besides those two?
You know, I would be happy if Batman would just stop a bank robbery once in a while now.
Yeah, maybe that's a throwback to an innocent time.
We just got out of this whole the Joker war, which was 6 to 8 issues where the Joker, spoiler alerts, guys, if you haven't read the Joker war, the Joker steals all of Bruce Wayne's money and has access to everything. He's got everything Wayne. Batman is shut out. 8 issues to tell this story of Joker getting it and Batman having to get it all back. Poison Ivy did this in a single issue of Detective Comics. Wrapped it all
out over 6 months.
Yeah. She walked in, got it, took over the board, Batman undercut it, got it back, end of issue. Might have been 2 issues, but I don't think it was. I think it was a single issue. That is something I would love to get back to, saying, I've started this story. I finished this story. It's still the same day. I'm putting the book down now, and I'll read it again.
Well, I think a common theme we're talking about, especially with the big publishers, and there's something about the Stan Lee thing I want to revisit, but with the big publishers here, it's not a hopeless situation. They've just fallen into bad habits and bad ideas. They need a wake-up call, a reality check to snap out of it. Because one of the newer things I do like that DC did is when they did the Dark Knight's, the Dark Knight's Metal series, right? That the Batman Who Laughs. That's a great character. That's another one that I think that book, it's Teen Titans 12 is the first appearance of the Batman Who Laughs. For those who don't know that character, there's another alternate DC universe where Bruce Wayne becomes the Joker instead of Batman. And so it's like the two characters mixed together. Right. That's a really cool idea. Some cool artwork. I think that thing goes for like $120, $150. And like we said, if they can get it in gear, get everyone on board with doing good work, that could be $1,000 book easy. That's a really cool character with a lot of potential.
But that would mean they'd have to keep that character around ongoing in some way, shape, or form in order to continue having a maintained interest. 20 years down the line, if we haven't seen the Batman Who Laughs in 20 years, Teen Titans isn't going to be worth nearly as much. I have in one of these boxes over here, I have the DC Comics Presents number 51, 52, Superman and Superboy of Earth Prime.
Okay.
So, it's basically the first appearance of Superboy Prime, which was funny because I picked it up at a flea market for $1.50 and went straight to the comic store from there. I said, yeah, I just came from the flea market. I bought one of those Crisis crossovers. I got the first appearance of Superboy from Earth Prime, and they're looking at me like, do you know what that's going for right now? I'm like, why? It's like, and I don't know if it's still holding its value or not because I haven't checked in a while, but Wall Street it wasn't,
But that's it. Okay, here's another tip for all the listeners and everyone out there, that you don't need a price guide. You don't need to go to the store and ask the guy behind the counter. Your friend to looking up prices is the eBay search bar or the Google search bar. But eBay will tell you what this thing has gone for lately, not 5 years ago or something. Now, I have a store. If you're an individual citizen selling your Spider-Man issues, I don't know if you have access to it, but there's a feature called TerraPeak that's really detailed sales information, and it'll break down the different grades, if it's slab, the different versions, European versus American pressings, and like that's the information you need. If 90 days is too long ago,
Absolutely. Because it's like I said, it's got to go to the press, it's got to go to the stores, it's got to sit on the shelf for weeks and weeks and weeks. Unless it's something that's a slow move. I think the books are okay for things like your Silver Age books. unless something happens where a first appearance was in Silver Age, it was already, you know, regularly climbing at about 2% a year. And then they kill the character off, literally kill the character off. Not, you know, he might be coming back next issue with a broken arm. He's gone.
Or a different costume or something.
Exactly. Then people might say, where was this first appearance at? And then you get an uptick that's more, you need to see more recent data than what the guide would show you. You know, the guide is good for, I don't know if insurance adjusters go with current eBay or if they go with documented price guides. If you were to lose something.
I know my insurance company went off the Terapeak that I talk about, that eBay feature.
There you go.
They don't. I guess there's been enough earthquakes and hurricanes and blizzards and fires and whatnot that they've learned not to trust those price guides, because comic books don't have these harsh adjustments in value like sports cards do. Sports cards, the big thing with sports cards is injuries and off the field behavior. The NFL, there's a lot of off the field behavior, and that does affect the values.
Yeah, because comic books, you know, you're not going to see a change in behavior with a comic book as quickly as you will with a sports character, because it's like, you know, this is a storyline that's going to take 12 months to play out. It gets advertised so many months in advance. They may be lying to you in the advances. Catwoman may not really marry Batman in this issue. But, you know, pitcher for Major League Baseball player may go out and hit a child while he's drunk tonight. And that's an instant.
I give you a specific example. I can't think of a comic book creator, but, you know, writer X gets his 8th DUI, right? Well, Marvel's a big organization. DC's a big organization. They'll just replace him. There's 500 other people ready to write that book. Now, there's a name, Greg Hardy. He got caught, I think it was TMZ or National Enquirer, one of them. He kicked a you-know-what out of his girlfriend and kept his job with the Dallas Cowboys because they needed that nose tackle. It's two very different situations.
Yeah.
And trust me, it's not right, but they're trying to win. And, a lot of this stuff they overlook. But
did that impact his card value?
Oh, big time. The classic example is O.J. Simpson. Now, the magic year for sports cards is 1975. Before 75 is considered vintage. 75 was the first year that Walmart and 7-Eleven and those kind of places started carrying. So that was when like the print runs went insane. I think OJ's rookie card is 71, 72. It should be worth 2-3 times what it is, because even after all these years, it's still got that OJ stink from the trial on it. So now,
I'm kind of surprised that didn't go up because of the level of notoriety. I mean, you've got I'm a really super good guy, everybody wants my card. Then you've got I went into a stinkeroo bit of bad playing. I broke my leg and couldn't play anymore. I got drunk and lost my job, sinking down. But then you got, possibly a murderer.
Here's where it gets weird, because the people who, I don't know, again, use your eBay search bar. Off the top of my head, let's say OJ's rookie card goes for $500 when it should be going $1,500, $2,000. Walter Payton's rookie card goes for $2,000. You see, that's the difference.
Yeah.
Those people buying the $500 OJ cards are a different breed of collector. I don't know what to call them. I'm not trying to diss people. You like what you like, but the people who want Charles Manson's toothbrush, John Wayne Gacy's paintings, Ted Bundy's shoes, they start buying that stuff. There was, I think it was last year, there's a set called the NBA Hoops. They still make it now. It's like the basic basketball set you can buy at Walmart and Target. In 1991, there's a player named Mark Jackson that played for the Knicks. He was a starting player, good guy, good player. But if you look at that card out of the 91 NBA Hoops set, in the front row behind him in the picture are the Menendez brothers. Now, what makes this special is this is after they killed their parents, but before they got arrested, while they were spending the money. That card goes $20, $25, and it is the serial killer collectors buying it.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't even know that existed. I knew that there were a lot of things going on in backgrounds of cards or bad angles of cards. I think the one I just saw recently that I remembered it, but I'd forgotten it for a long time, was the Bad Angle C-3PO from Star Wars, where it looked like he had a metal appendage. And that's just bad editing. Somebody should have caught that.
Do you remember in the 89 Fleer set, Billy Ripken, Cal Ripken's brother, he was holding a bat like this, and it had a naughty word on the bottom?
Yep, I do remember that.
Did they intentionally do that? Did they I don't think that was an accident.
It's kind of hard to have a word show up accidentally at the bottom of your bat.
And it makes through the editors and the printers and everything. They were trying to generate some buzz.
I think so.
I do too.
Now, we know that a lot of comic books and cards will go up after they've been out for a while and something happens. But we've also, seen the thing where they are worth more than suggested retail price the minute they hit the shelves. And the most recent one comes to mind right now is Punchline with DC Comics. The first Punchline appearance, which they really kind of screwed up, or they didn't screw up as far as first appearance goes. They did screw up for collectors as far as first appearance goes, but they did well for themselves because they had her first appear in 2 books on the same week. So both books were the first appearance. And you don't know which one's the chronological one.
And as DC, usually an editor somewhere is supposed to make the commandment from the mountain, this is the one. Have they not done that?
I don't think they have. I mean, you can.
Oh, yeah.
Chronological. Obviously, if it's like it was like Year of the Villain this, and then Batman this, and they were both on the shelf, same week release. You can say Year of the Villain was chronologically before this, story wise, but birthday of book birthday, they're the same day, so either one could be first appearance.
That seems really. Not sleazy, that's the wrong word, but disingenuous, because you remember there was a mild controversy years ago about what's Venom's first appearance. We all know now it's Spider-Man 300, but for half a second there, they said it was Web of Spider-Man 18 or something, and you just see an arm out of the shadow, and yeah, that's Venom and Eddie Brock, but we didn't see the costume, we didn't say anything. Like, that's not a first appearance.
Yeah, and I guess Venom only counts if it's the symbiote and Eddie Brock together, because I would have said Secret Wars #8.
Yep. Oh, and Eddie Brock was one of the Daily Bugle reporter. He was a character before Venom.
Exactly. So you have to get the two of them together and have him be saying, I am Venom, or we are Venom, and then boom, first appearance of new character.
So yeah, everyone, if you're a DC fan, make DC make a decision on this. If they leave it up to the fans, this will be a controversy forever.
Well, the other controversy with Punchline, and I say this because a little bit of show shilling here. Tuesday, October 20th, we're going to have Bill Williams on here, who does a little book for Antarctic Press called Punchline. And then Wednesday, we're going to have Ted Sakura on here from Hero Tomorrow Press, who do a little book called Punchline and the Vaudevillains. Punchline was a character in Tap Dance Killer well before DC put it out. So one has a book called Punchline, one has a character called Punchline. Both of them predate DC. And if there's any controversy comes out of that might make the values again go up or down, especially since DC has decided to finally move ahead and give Punchline a one-shot. So now it's gone beyond being a character to we're going to put a logo on a product and a brand. And now we can really get into like a trademark dispute kind of thing.
Well, legally, they can do that because I should know this. We learned this in college. You can't
trademarks.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where you end up with there's probably 50 bands named Bad Attitude, or something like that. And there's 2 metal bands, both called Disgorge. And ironically, they're from opposite sides of the border. One's from Tijuana, one's from San Diego. But they get nicknamed Mexigorge and Cali Gorge to separate them. But legally, they can both be Disgorge.
Yep. I learned all this again from Michael Tierney, because he has a graphic novel and novel series called Wild Stars with a registered trademark. And he went through a whole legal rigmarole with Image Comics and won And this is why you don't see WildStar Comics with the Image as a logo for Image anymore. They still have him as a character, but they can't, put it on product or anything.
Yeah, I know. It wasn't until you said that I realized, I hadn't seen one of those books in a long time. And yep, and there we go. That's why.
That's the behind the scenes on that one. Yeah, okay. I hit the end of my thought process on Punchline there.
All right. So circle it back to the Stan Lee thing of like, I'm with you. There's not a big cheerleader to the public. Stan Lee there's a lot of controversial opinions about him. Maybe he hammed up and hyped up his contributions to Marvel. No matter how you feel about him, he was a big ambassador of bringing comic books to the mainstream. He was an identifiable personality, right? And we don't have that right now. But for about a 5-year run, we might have had one. In the old days, I was a big fan of Valiant. I really liked the Valiant relaunch up until they got sold to the Chinese Communist Party. If you don't know, in 2018, there was a shady deal where the reason none of the Valiant TV shows ever came out in America is China bought the third largest superhero universe and brought it back to the motherland, and we're never going to see it again. But when Dinesh Shamdasani, God, please tell me I pronounced that right, he could have been the next Stan Lee, and potentially could still. They're launching a new company called Bad Idea, where he brought a lot of those Valiant creators with him, and it looked like good stuff. But he already had the established characters there, and it was a great ride for 5 years, but then it ended too soon.
Well, Valiant's still publishing in America, though, right?
And they're a shell of their former self. It's not the same. It's one of those things of like, you remember the weird Guns N' Roses lineup, the Chinese Democracy line? I don't want to see that. If it's not Slash and Duff and Izzy and them, no thanks. I feel the same way.
But yeah, we whether Stan Lee was, overly emphasizing his contributions or not, I don't think anybody ever doubted Stan Lee loved the characters of Marvel Comics. Everything that he created, or everything that he, every character that existed in his universe was family to him. And he was excited about it, and he made other people excited about it. I think Dick Jordan, I met him, was excited about DC Comics characters.
I feel the same way about Stan Lee as I do about Sharon Osbourne. Sharon Osbourne she did do some shady stuff, but it's real easy to talk smack about her. But she could have very easily done the 50 Cent hip hop thing, done the Justin Timberlake pop thing, done the Florida Georgia Line country thing. She did heavy metal because her and her family love that music. And I feel the same way about Stan Lee. It's real easy to sit there and talk smack about him. He could have gone off to Hollywood and been a game show host or whatever. He did that, stuck with Marvel so long because he loved it and believed in it.
Yeah, 6 million USD, $6 million jazz crap. Cool. Says that they did not get Turok, Solar, or Magnus. So
Dynamite ended up with them. Yeah, all the gold key characters went to Dynamite.
Did Valiant have them? The Valiant did have them, didn't they?
In the 90s.
Yeah, because they did a really interesting stuff with Solar, Man of the Atom. They were taking him sort of in a Dr. Manhattan kind of path.
Have the issues. It's a good book. I've always been a personal fan of Exo Manowar. I really like that title. You remember their big hit was Turok. There was talk of a cartoon. There was 2 video games. That was like Cover a Wizard and all that. My
13-year-old son's got a N64 upstairs, and he's got the Turok dinosaur, whatever he's hunting at the time, because Turok's been Dinosaur Hunter and Turok's been 21st Century Game Warden. I don't know which one is current now.
Yep. But again, that happened to Valiant twice, didn't it? When I talk about Valiant went to China, it's like you said, they still have their publishing office in New York. They still have books on the shelves. But I think the Bloodshot movie is the only thing meant for American release. The Ninjak versus the Valiant universe, it's available on YouTube, and it's a good show, but you're not going to see it on ABC or anything. It's over there. So back in the 90s, you had a claim company bought Valiant and had no clue what they were doing and just tanked the operation.
I remember that. Yeah, took it all down. Yep. So who's doing things right now, though? I mean, if I were a company that says, you know what, these are things that are going on the shelf right now that I should probably be paying attention to because they look like they're going to have some staying power.
If you're talking about just the reading experience and following the story month to month, I really like what IDW does. For one, unlike the big two, they don't have shareholders in New York to report to. For the long and short on IDW is when Wildstorm left Image and went to DC, half of the Wildstorm staff had left the big two and did not want to go back. So they started IDW instead of going back to DC with the Wildstorm guy. That's the origin of that. And so they've stayed true to we're not going to interfere with the creative teams. We're not going to push crazy crossovers on you. And yeah, the quality varies wildly on the series, but especially the Hasbro books are very, very good. There's a lot of good creator-owned stuff there. I like the way they run their business. I really liked Valiant during the 2010s. Image, it's another one. Image, that they only own one copyright, and it's the Image Eye. So that one really depends on the creative team, whether it sinks or swims. Just having that Image Eye doesn't mean anything in and of itself. It's mostly the big two who you've got creators trying to use comic books as a springboard in Hollywood. You got corporate executives trying to use comic books as a springboard to promotion. Everyone has an ulterior motive, and no one just wants to make a good product.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've enjoyed some things from IDW. I've seen some things that look like really woke crap stuff.
Well, I'm talking about more the amateur stuff of like, this is almost stick figure-ish. What's going on with this art?
Exactly. But IDW is really good when they do crossovers, and they've done some sort of under the radar crossovers with DC and other companies. That they're
and the Max, that's a good one.
Yeah, and their Star Trek Green Lantern crossovers, both of them.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Notch stuff. They did Star Trek Legion of Superheroes, which I thought was a no-brainer because both future sets coming in there. But I don't. Every year, I wonder if this is the last year for IDW because they're always operating at a net loss. I don't know how long they can continue to bleed money like that.
And if anyone bothers to look at those sales charts that Diamond would produce, there's a bunch of websites that have, all the back data that some of these books, like G.I. Joe, I've been reading my whole life. I love Larry Hama's Real American Hero run. That thing sells like 4,000 copies a month. It is barely profitable, if at all. It seems like a lot of their stuff like that.
Yeah, I can't. 4,000 is I would think that was a cancel level of any book.
I think it's and I'm one of them. There's enough people to get that thing every month that they're hanging on, but there's not that wave of young readers, older people getting their kids into it. It's just kind of, we're going to let it coast until it sinks, I think is their attitude towards it.
Well, the movies haven't been very good, and they don't have the cartoon series to go back on anymore. That pushed a lot of books actually in the 80s was the cartoon series that would be out there. You had He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. You had obviously the G.I. Joes. Now Steven Universe. Well, that sells Funko Pops, but it doesn't sell comic books.
And then you have weird situations like, you remember Mask, that there was kind of a combination of Transformers and G.I. Joe. The vehicles would transform. That all of those episodes are free on YouTube. So a couple weeks ago for Yucks, it's let's watch this. I remember third grade, me and my next door neighbor would run home off the bus so we could get home in time to watch Mask. We couldn't get enough of it. Loved it as a kid. Watch it through adults' eyes. What on earth is this? It does not hold up well. The toys are very cool. You could skip that cartoon series. Now, IDW, because they're part of the Hasbro universe, they do a Mask series. I think a couple of them. It's pretty good. There's finally the story to back it up. But it's like you said, that it's a nostalgia trip for basically people in their 40s, and I don't think anyone younger than that knows about it or cares.
Yeah, that's they could do more with it. I think if the toys were still out there. Again, it was a situation where the toys were. It was the whole reason why Congress passed this law about educational television, that you had so many hours per day of educational, because the cartoons were becoming nothing more than 30-minute commercials for the toy lines. no matter how good the stories were or how involved you were in them, if there was a toy that matched the show, it wasn't so much that I bought the toy because I really liked the show. It's I bought the toy because the show told me the toy existed.
There's a series, the Silverhawks. You remember them?
Yeah,
that was a really egregious one where the plot of each episode happened to focus on a different toy that was available at Walmart. You know, they weren't trying to hide it at all.
Yeah. The whole plot was he's got a new car. It's a new ship. Or
I've never seen that airplane before.
Oh, so anyway, you've got tips of the day here for people.
Yeah. What do we want to know about? Let's just go through them a little bit at a time. And remember, the 3 important letters in the secondary market. I'm not talking about retailers. I'm not talking about wholesaling new product direct from the manufacturer. That's someone else's game. I'm talking about whether it's a day after the fact, a year, or a century after the fact. Why do we care about this at all? WHY, why? So, does this ring any bells? Samsara? Probably not. But if I say the name, the Cro-Mags, the New York hardcore band, that does ring a bell because they've had several popular records. Here's your why. This, if we look on the back here in the tour dates, I saw this tour in the back room in Austin, Texas when they opened for Earth Crisis, and it was a great show. And my friend that went with me, I was a big Earth Crisis fan. He was a big Cro-Mags fan. So his whole thing is I want to watch the Samsara, and hang out with them afterwards. Go look online about for the details about this. But long story short, you had the classic era or lineup from the 80s that made the Age of Quarrel record. And they got into a new hobby of suing each other. The band broke in half. The singer and the drummer, were one faction, and the bass player and the guitarist were the other faction. So this shirt, the Samsara shirt, is the guitarist and the bass player's lineup, Harley and Paris. Now, there are people, music collectors, that specifically like the New York hardcore stuff. Just like there's people that specifically like grunge. They specifically like Nashville country, LA hip hop, those kind of regional scenes become national phenomenons. So even though you may not have heard of this one, not listed yet, it'll be listed tomorrow. I expect this one to be a bidding war to break out on it. One, it's rare. It's from a weird era of the band, and it's 30 years later, and they held on to their fans. So those are the kind of things that you can apply to basically any collectible, but especially in music. Is why do I care about the? Yes, yeah. Read about that. The other lineup of the Cro-Mags with the singer and the drummer, Harley's the bass player. He was not happy that the other lineup was playing at Webster Hall a few years ago, and he had a bad night where you know how the clubs hire the off-duty cops to be the security guards? They
Sure.
messed him up and broke his leg. So you can read about that one on your. It's about as bad as a band could end.
Well, it's not like hiring the Hell's Angels to do security for you.
It might as well be. New York traffic cops have to deal with God knows what on a daily basis. So that's your old band. That's the why do we remember this stuff? Why do we care? Because they once upon a time they made a lot of people happy, and they had a popular video on MTV. So a newer band, this is the one I keep telling everyone who will listen, and even the people who won't listen, Code Orange. They are from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I think they started like 2010, 2011. They've been around 10 years now. This one is their second record, I Am King. This one is their third record, Forever. I cannot remember the name of the first one. In all honesty, the first one, it's good, but not great. They became Code Orange on these two. They got a new record out called Underneath. These guys were supposed to have a big year this year. They had, like everybody else on Earth, when the lockdown happened, they got all their tours canceled because the venues closed. They were supposed to do a headlining club tour with Jesus Piece and Year of the Knife, two other bands I highly recommend. But that's the, we're going to play the full album. Our fans are coming back. They're making that jump to the next level, right? And this summer they were supposed to open for Slipknot. It's going to get rescheduled, but eventually Sakura and Code Orange are going to tour together. But they're playing all the big arenas around the country, all the 18,000, 20,000 seats. So I would compare them, not in sound, not in the kind of music they play, but they're at the point now that Mastodon was at like 10, 15 years ago of you're getting out of the underground and going into the mainstream. So I'm going to pop one of these open real quick. You got variant covers. You got parallel cards. When it comes to specifically the vinyl records, it's the color of the vinyl. This one is just basic black, right? Put it on the record player. Look at it. See, we got the logo for the middle label. But the ones that are the fancy editions, and they're over there. They could do some cool stuff at the pressing plants with these. They could do half of the sides one color, half's the other color, glow in the dark.
I've never seen half and half.
Yeah,
the top side versus the bottom side, not split down the middle.
No, split down the middle.
Okay.
The way these are made is they're, Dippin' Dots, the little ice cream things that they used to sell at the mall. It's plastic Dippin' Dots basically, and you put it down. You got the pressing plate that has the grooves of the music, and it just heats it up and presses it. But yeah, you'd have one side pink and one side blue or whatever combination you want. Point is those rare colored vinyl editions are the ones that go for big bucks. These are the ones that are just at the store for sale. That's your investment opportunity. And it's not, hey, colored fancy vinyl of a crappy record is not going to sell. You have to have the songs first, and then you have to have the fan interest, and then you can get into the special variants. It really needs to go in that order.
Yeah, when I was in college, I had a 33-inch vinyl of a photo disc of Samantha Fox. I was like, wish I still kept that, but I didn't.
And that's another one. Ironically, the stuff that, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago longer, we'd laugh at, the new generation of rappers, the people they call the mumble rappers, Lil Xan and those kind of guys, they don't feel about Vanilla Ice the way you and me do. They like Vanilla Ice and look at him as an inspiration. ICP's another one. They've had a whole second life as this is how you be an independent rap band. This is one, how you don't get ripped off, but this is how you have a career. Any idiot can write a hit song. Can you write your third platinum album? That's the challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, they're sticking around. All right. So what else we got here?
That's the music. Again, I'm telling y'all, get those Infinity Gauntlet issues. They're Marvel /DC /Netflix, they're going to revisit that. We did the baseball cards. Okay. Here's something to watch out for, how you don't get burned, okay? We got two players here. They had rookie years at the same time. We've got, there we go, Jeff Bagwell, the Houston Astros, something like 30th on the home run list all time. No, I think he's lower than that, 50 something. He had a lot of home runs. All-time leader for the Astros, in the Hall of Fame, steroids. Nothing ever proven, never failed a drug test, but he had a nice long career, drives a fancy car, all that stuff. Then you have Kevin Maas, okay? You can't see on the back of the card, but he's one of the guys. This is what you have to watch out for. He came out of the minors, gets to Yankee Stadium, hits about 20 home runs in 3 months, goes on a tear, on a hot streak, and then the league figures him out. And then the league, he can't hit a curveball. He can't hit an inside fastball. All the pitchers figured him out. He lasted about another year, and I think he's selling used cars now. So you don't want players that get hot for half a second and then disappear. You want the career players. And it doesn't even – I focus on Hall of Famers as opposed to prospecting rookies. We got the rookie for the Tampa Bay Devil Rays.
Right.
When I'm looking up rookie cards, I'll go to, Wikipedia or Google and, hey, where is this guy now? There's a lot of bummer stories out there about these people. Whatever happened, whether it's their fault or not, that it doesn't end well for the rookies a lot. And I think that it's a safer bet to go with the established players. Because even if they're not Hall of Famers, you have people like Sean Casey. He was a player for the Reds. He's the host of the MLB Network now. So how do all the 21-year-old knuckleheads know who Sean Casey is? They see him on TV every day. That's how they know. So like I was saying about the comic books, like I was saying about the music, there's a second factor behind it besides just what's on the surface.
Yeah. Yeah. Here in St. Louis, we used to have Ozzie Smith. After playing for the Cardinals, he went on to become an announcer. So, you know, you'd go to the game, and if you walk by the door where the announcer's booth was, he'd be out there signing programs. And, you know, that was not an opportunity you generally had with the players. They didn't walk out there in the stadium aisles. They were, you know, their secret exit through the dugout that no one could go to.
And there's a lot of them. Like, I always felt bad for Ken Griffey Jr. because he's a genuinely nice guy, and he's never had any controversy or scandal at all. But we got these grocery stores here in Texas called HEB. You got Kroger or PNC or whatever you got wherever you are. Imagine Ken Griffey Jr. walks in your grocery store. Life stops because everyone will surround him and want a picture, want an autograph, want a whatever. That's not his fault. So, you know, when they have the secret tunnel like a back door, a lot of times it's for that. They get so famous. And so
they got it. Yeah, I'm certainly not faulting them for that. I'm just saying that, you know, the Second Life business that you get.
Oh, yeah. And that's what drives it. But some of these guys are jerks. Let's keep it real. Some of them are just unpleasant.
Sure. And, you know, if you do have an opportunity to, you know, if you've got a card of somebody and you've got an opportunity to get it signed, I say get it signed. My son, he went to a yard sale last year with his own money and came back with a car. And I was like, well, that's nice, but this is a remote control car and you have no remote. He's like, oh, I'll go back and get it. And he's like, they don't have the remote. So he paid, you know, like $15 for this car. And he was like, well, they wouldn't take it back. Obviously, it was in the neighborhood too. He's like, but he did say here I could have this baseball card as part of it. Now, my son was not into baseball at the time. It's a Lou Brock card from 1977. I said, you hang on to that. And of course, you know, I had an opportunity earlier this year to mail it to somebody who was going to, you know, take a batch of them to Lou Brock's home and have signatures put on it. Didn't take advantage of the opportunity, and now that opportunity is gone.
Yep. Now, you brought up the autographs. I got to take my headphones out and grab something off the table. Give me 3 Mississippi. I'll be right back.
All right. Well, I can take care of this part here because this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you these stickers we have here. See, I have a whole stack of them here that I am willing to give to you for nothing. All you have to do is send me a self-addressed stamped envelope to Critical Blast at 1097 Prestwick Drive, Belleville, Illinois, 62221. And when I open up your envelope and find another one inside of it, I'll throw 2 of these in here. I've been known to sometimes wrap up a little stick pin or a keychain and throw those in there as well if I'm feeling particularly generous. But you will at least get the 2 stickers in return for nothing more than a stamp and an envelope with your address on it. You want to put, you know, Bob Jones as your name so you don't get doxxed because this is the era of the internet. I completely understand. As long as the post office gets your envelope back to you, put whatever you want on there. And we are back, and we're going to look at some autographs here.
Yes. Before we do that, the post office is my favorite hangout these days. I go there every day. I can assure you guys, the post office doesn't lose stuff. They may damage it, but they don't lose it. Trust me, I know. So, with autographs, you said the magic word, and that got me going. Be very cautious of fraud. There's tons of it. There's a book called Operation Bullpen about the FBI did a sting stores in Southern California, somewhere near LA. There's a guy who worked in the store who could perfectly do Mickey Mantle's autograph. They think 60% of those Mickey Mantle autographs are fake. It was this weirdo in LA just knocking them out the back of the store. And it's really bad with the Star Wars collectibles. You're at a convention and they got, oh, this Star Wars helmet, a Stormtrooper helmet was used in the movie. You need to do your homework and research that because odds are it was not. It was made in someone's garage. So what does this have to do with anything? This one here, Magic card. It's compulsive research, nothing special. I don't think you can see it from here, but it's just signed. The reason I got it signed is the guy who did the drawing here is named Mike Sutphin. He's a professional artist. He obviously did the card, but when he was in college, He was in a punk band called Charles Bronson in Illinois. I love Charles Bronson, cool band. Once I realized, oh, you're the guy who's the guitarist in the band, this autograph is for me. It's not what they call certified, okay? And certified can come in a couple different flavors. Probably the most common one you've seen is you're at a convention and, you know, you're meeting Lou Ferrigno or Mike Tyson or whoever, and they sign it, and then you go to the next table after you sign it, and they give you the paper with the stamp. That's certified autograph. That's on this date at this time. I met person X and they autographed it. And as long as these two pieces of paper stay together, it verifies that, you know, Lou Ferrigno signed it and not me. Okay. So this one, you're going to have a hard time selling online. And it's that it isn't a real autograph, right? These are a different story. These came out of packs of baseball cards. So the way the manufacturers do it now, there's a Cleveland Indians. We got a guy named Logan Allen. And this is what they call a sticker autograph. You can't see it from here, but it's like transparent piece of, you know, Scotch tape, kind of, it's not Scotch tape, but cellophane see-through.
Like booklets.
Yes. And they mostly do this stuff during spring training. They'll have the sheets of the little peel-off stickers, and they'll sign all of them at once, 500 or whatever, and then they put the sticker on the card later on. But they videotape, the manufacturers, Panini, Topps, and Upper Deck mostly, will videotape it. So, you know, if I'm the hot new draft pick and it's spring training, I'll go to a hotel room somewhere in Orlando and spend my afternoon signing autographs in front of a camera. But that's legally how you can tell it was a real autograph by the real person. And then you have what's called an on-card autograph. Here's a really good one that, you know, you got the regular kind of card frame with the finish on it, and then there's a regular paper spot here, and then the player autographs it. But again, certified by the manufacturer. So these you can sell because they're real autographs from the real player versus this. If you're getting autographs, like you told the story about Lou Brock and Ozzie Smith, get those, keep them for yourselves. This is the souvenir of the time I went to the game, all that kind of stuff, but don't expect to flip it for big bucks on eBay.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with me. It's like, you know, when I get autographs, I don't buy autographs. I get autographs. So when I take this to a convention and you know, I get Neil Gaiman to sign it there to me, that's, you know, it's still 258 out of 6,000. So that's, you know, that's always going to be mine. And now my son, at some point, you know, even a non-certified autograph is going to sell for something if they can be fairly sure it's real, right?
Exactly.
And then, you know, I got my greatest Batman stories ever told here, which of course has been to many a convention with me. And I don't know if you can see the names showing up on there or not.
Jim Aparo. I've seen that, Dick. I've seen that signature before, but I can't remember the name.
Dick Sprang, yeah.
Julius Schwartz. Wow, look at that.
Yeah, Julius Schwartz is in here. Where is Dick Giordano's not on here. I thought he was. Denny O'Neil, Steve Englehart, Dave Dorman signed it. Really?
I guess that's a good point too, is people are far more likely to forge Michael Jordan's signature than Dick Giordano's. You know, context plays a role in this, but it also price does. If someone's asking for $500, $1,000, whatever, and there's no certification paperwork, no authenticity, you need to keep walking. Something's up with this.
Yeah. Usually I'll get my picture taken with the person so that, you know, even if it's a picture of them signing it, it's me and this guy together, and I happen to have his signature on this. You don't see him signing it, but you see that I did know the guy. So it's like, okay, it's more likely now that you actually did get this autograph from this person.
And you can tell this card is the card in the picture because it's the same ink, the signature's in the same place. You can match it up.
Exactly.
They're so good on computers now. You know, the jersey cards or the memorabilia cards where they put a chunk of the bat or the jersey or the shoe or whatever in the card. They can make up the fibers and the weave on the patch in the card to the uniform the player was wearing. That's like FBI, NSA stuff when you get to that. Again, more forgeries. There was, I know Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, and Joe DiMaggio. People were just buying old Yankees uniforms, so it had the right tag and it was the right material, but they were putting mud on it in the backyard, and it, anything to avoid getting a job, right?
Exactly. So sometimes you work harder at doing it illegally than you would doing it legally.
It's not worth it. And by the way, all those Operation Bullpen guys, there was one guy who ratted out everyone else. Everyone else went to prison for like 10 years. So is it really worth it? Now, we want to move on to some more collector tips.
Sure.
Some for real. There's some money to be made here. We got Magic the Gathering, right? And this game started in 1993. It's been through a lot of different eras, and you can kind of tell the eras from the frame of the card. Now, generally, all the Magic cards, you got the art, you got the text box, and you got the frame. And they literally all have the same back because it's a playable card game, and you don't want to cheat or, oh, that one, I can see it. So as long as the back's okay, we're not worried about the condition. This is the side we're worried about. So this is called the Desert. It's out of a set called the Arabian Nights. The Arabian Nights was the second expansion, the second or third expansion set.
I was there.
Say again?
I was there.
You were there. Okay, so these were the ones that this is before Walmart and Target and those places had Magic cards. And I lived in Houston at the time, and the publisher was based out of Seattle. A lot of the boxes didn't even make it east of the Mississippi. They would sell out, in California, Nevada, and those places. Very, very low print runs. These are your vintage Magic cards. Even the common cards are $5, $10 now. But the stuff like Bazaar of Baghdad, Diamond Valley, Juzam Jin, those are spiking in value. And then you've heard of the Power 9, the 5 Moxes, the Black Lotus, Time Twister, Time Walk, and Ancestral Recall, the 9 most powerful cards ever in the history of the game.
Yep.
Ooh, those are all 5 figures and more. Those are big.
Well, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that.
It gets worse because you could certify the autographs in the graded cards, right? Christopher Rush, the guy who painted the Black Lotus, passed away a few years ago. No more autographed Black Lotuses. That's all of them.
That's it. I had Magic the Gathering. I'm gonna say 96, and I was playing it like every Tuesday night at the comic shop. We went to play that. Moved to North Carolina, took my deck with me. Couldn't find anybody there playing it. Was in North Carolina for a year and a half. Came back. They totally moved on to the game. Added new things like flanking and stuff. I was like, okay, I haven't played it in so long. I'm out of it. I just don't understand anymore. Here's my deck. What will you give me for it? And I got like $400 for my deck. I'm like, yeah, I flipped it at the right time because this thing, I've got it at the peak of the game. Now this was a deck that was a 60 card deck. I had the minimum size, and all it was Balance, Wrath of God, Time Twister, and Tormod's Crypt. I was just cycling through your deck and getting rid of your graveyard and getting mine back the whole time. I'd have somebody come out with like a deck a foot high. I'm like, it's just going to take a while, but I'm still going to win.
No, I love those decks. I always played blue. I played Counterspell. I'm very annoying to play against. Now, just off the cards you listed right there, Balance and Wrath of God have been in like 20 sets since. They get reprinted frequently. Those, even the old versions, are like $10. Time Twister's a big one. That's one of the 5-digit ones. What was the other card you said? Tormod's Crypt. That is getting reprinted, kind of. It's literally getting reprinted. There's new versions with new art, but it's in these collector's boxes, and Wizards of the Coast has a thing like Topps does. Topps has Topps Now, where you can buy the limited cards right off the website. You can do that with Wizards of the Coast, and it's a lot of those classic cards like that. So those Tormod Crypt probably go for $100 a piece, but you can get a new one. There's not new Time Twisters. They're never going down that road.
Yeah. I knew of somebody who had bought, and this was, again, still in the early days, had bought the boxed set of the collector's card, not the playable card, because it had
with the gold border?
Had a gold border.
Yep.
But had played around with enough of the basic cards to realize that there was the way the playing cards are made, they're stiff. It's not because it's a stiff cardboard. It's because there was like paper on one side, paper on the other, and there was this thin blue, almost like a plastic thing in there. And he found out that if you take an eraser hard enough to the front of one card and to the back of another card, you got it down to the blue, and you just put them like that, suddenly he had a black border Black Lotus because he had the collector card that cost nothing and a back of a basic card that was the real playable card. And unless you like took a micrometer and found out that it was an extra blue layer thicker than the other, you could not tell that it wasn't the genuine article.
There is a way to tell that now that you can do at home. If you have one of those like pen lights or, the book light when you're in bed,
Yeah.
you put the light on the back of the card. If you can see through it, it's a regular card. If you can't see through it, they call that rebacking, is what you just described there. And that's probably the most common form, well, besides just straight up counterfeiting. That's a really common form of fraud in Magic the Gathering. And we're going to circle back to Magic the Gathering, but that brings up graded cards, okay? There's 3 major grading companies. There's a lot of grading companies. There are 3 major ones. We got PSA, we got the Beckett Grading Service, and the Sports Card Guarantee, SCG. If it's not one of these 3 companies, it's not going to command a premium on the price. If you got a $20 card that's in some wackadoodle off-brand graded company, it's still worth $20. Where I got 3 Mark McGuire's here. We'll get into some St. Louis stuff here in a minute too. But yes. Mark McGuire took an interesting turn in the late 90s and early 2000s. So 3 rookies, 2 Donruss, 1 Fleer, 3 different companies. They're all 9s, so not perfect, but very good. If the raw card is going for $5, these probably go like 12, 10, It basically doubles the value. The 10s are the ones where the prices get really crazy. So what does this have to do with the Magic cards? Not all these companies are perfect. PSA has a major backlog. If you submit stuff to them, you're probably not getting it back for 6 months. Now, the more money you spend, you can cut the line, especially if you've got, Lou Gehrig's and pre-World War II cards. But if it's modern era stuff, and again, modern era, 75 to now. 75 is a Magic year. You're going to have to wait in line, and it's taken forever with PSA. Beckett, the wait's not so bad. It's only 3 or 4 months as opposed to 6 to 8. Beckett rushes too much. Those reback cards you were talking about, Beckett, when I say got caught, it's not like the cops were there arresting them, but collectors found out that they had graded a couple of fake Mox Pearls, the white Mox. They were rebacked, like you said, and the grader didn't catch it because they were burning through it so fast. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that it wasn't fraudulent. It was just carelessness. But either way, they certified a card as real. That was not. And there's videos on YouTube of the way you open these up is you cut the corner off where the label is and then use a screwdriver to pry it open, and that won't damage the card. I saw a guy take one of those fake cards out, and like you said, pulled it off, and where's that blue piece of paper? It's not here. It's supposed to be there. So that's the problem with them. With SCG, the problem is they have a very goofy submission process. I submit this card, and I think it's a 10. And they look at it, and if it's not a 10, it's a 9 or whatever. They don't even grade it. They send it back to you ungraded. It's so none of them are perfect is my point. And
even worth the cost, though? I mean, if a card is $10 in a graded condition, didn't you spend more than $10 to get it in the plastic in the first place?
Depends on how many and how often. I think the breakdown on PSA, it used to be if you're submitting more than 100 cards at a time, they'd only be $7 a piece, and it's still $700. But if you just want one card graded, I think it's $20 a throw.
Yeah. So you spent $20 to make something worth 12 instead of 5.
I'm assuming these were bulk submissions. And exactly. If you could do basic addition subtraction, I shudder to think you're doing that. It's basically if you've got an old valuable Michael Jordan, players in the modern era that are worth grading, Michael Jordan, I honestly think Patrick Mahomes is going to be one of those players. I mean, he's an active player now. That guy's the real deal. And his stuff is skyrocketed in value. Shaq's another one. A lot of the basketball stuff has spiked in value because basketball is a global sport. It's played on all 7 continents. There is no baseball in Eastern Europe. Everybody follows the NBA. That has a global reach that football and hockey and baseball don't. But there's still interest in them. Even if you don't like the sport, there's still the investment side of it. These have a better return than the stock market does. And the percentages go up, the higher the card goes. So more surefire things. I'm trying to think. Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky's not going down. Even if he commits triple homicide, he's so beloved in Canada. His stuff's going to stay at the value. God bless America. Tom Brady. Tom Brady stuff is not going down. So it's more the young, not necessarily rookie players, but second, third year in every sport. There's still plenty of time to screw this up. Someone like Emmitt Smith, the Emmitt Smith story is told.
Now, here's something that collectors really need to know too, especially if they want to get something graded. Obviously, the purpose of grading a card or a comic is that they're flat, they're bendable, and bendable means creasable. And you put them in that plastic, that doesn't happen. But you're not handing the card over to the guy who's going to put it right in the plastic. You've got to go across country with it. It's out of your hands, it's out of their hands. What safety precautions do you got to do to make sure that the card you sent them is the card they receive without something happening to it along the way? Because it's not in plastic at that point, unless you've got your own little non CGC or non Beckett kind of plastic to put it in.
The easiest way to do that is, again, you don't want to get a $5 card submitted to get graded. You want your good stuff that not only do you want to keep in good condition, you think it's going to hold its value or go up in the future. The easiest way to do that is these parallel cards. You probably can't see it, but there's a serial number right there. Okay. So we got number 99 out of 100. So if I submit 99, I hope I don't get number 87 back. You know what I mean? I should get number 99 back. That is the most efficient way to have the check and balance. Now there's other factors in play. PSA is owned by a company called Collectors Universe. They're traded on NASDAQ. If there's a whiff of fraud or corruption, it'll kill their stock price instantly. Beckett, they're still a privately owned company, but they've gone away from the magazines. Just like they're kind of like Wizard, where Wizard used to be a magazine, and now they're these convention promoters. Beckett used to be a magazine, now they're a grading company, and they don't just do cards. They do comic books, they do postcards, photographs, basically any kind of flat item. But their whole reputation, that's why them not catching the fake mocks really hurt them. It's all on reputation. If the word gets out that something's up, I don't want to get into the details on this because it's so spooky or anything. It's a long, complicated story. Everyone look up the card trimming scandal. Put card trimming scandal into Google and that'll pop it up. There were some Tom Brady rookies that they got submitted the first time, and there was a ding corner or whatever, and it got an 8. They went and took a laser cutter at like 1/32 of an inch, 1/64 of an inch, barely noticeable, trim that side, sent it back and got a 10. But people matched up. Like you got the borders here with the little baseballs. You can match up how that was sent versus how it was received. It's very hard to get away with the fraud and the cheating now, but that's not stopping people from trying to do it.
Yeah, that's good information, and I'm glad that you said all that. That's not what I was asking.
Oh, sorry.
But no, that's something I didn't think about. Is that the comic book I sent them, is that the same one I got back?
Yeah.
What I'm asking is, how do I take my, let's say that my comic book here is, let's say this is an 8.5. It's going to be an 8.5 if they had it in their hand and looked at it right now. How do I make sure that it's an 8.5 when it gets to them after it's left my hands?
That is, I don't have one in front of me. If I say a top loader, do you know what a top loader is?
A what?
A top loader?
Yeah.
Yeah. The thick plastic ones, do not ship those in a top loader. Now, I'm specifically talking about cards here. There's a comic book version of this. This is what they call a card saver. It's very, very thin. You have to kind of push open the sides, and that's when the mouth opens. I have it in a sleeve, a soft plastic sleeve inside of this. This is not going to move around in transit. So if we want to take all these magic cards here, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 7 of them, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to put them specifically in the card savers. Now, there's 2 types of card savers. There's card saver 1 and 2. All right. You can see the difference in the size.
Yeah.
So the 2 is the smaller one. Use the card saver 1. Use the bigger one because it's very easy to pull them in and out. Now, the best thing is when it's in there, like this, leave it in there. Stop doing, literally don't do what I'm doing right now and keep screwing with it. But you don't want it all the way in the bottom. Kind of leave a little gap there because just gravity and the holder itself is going to hold it in place. But that's how you keep it moving from side to side, up and down. Then what you do, we got our magic cards. We're going to send them in to pick your company. We're going to alternate. See the top where it says card saver? Alternate. So one goes this way, one goes this way, one goes this way. Because if they're all facing the same direction, it's going to have a weird lump.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You want them to be as flat as possible. Then you want, I assume there's other colors. That blue painter's tape, you want to use that and tape them around this way. And then drop the whole bundle in a bubble mailer. Don't put it in a regular envelope. Put it in a bubble mailer after they're in the card savers, after you use the blue painter's tape, because then zoo, it goes around the country and gets to PSA, right? They open the bubble mailer. They pull out the entire stack. They pull off the thing, and it's ready to go. So that's how they grade them. That's how they avoid getting damaged in transit.
And you can do the same thing with comic books too. You can throw them in those top loader monitors.
Exactly. They're way bigger, but it's the same concept.
Yeah. Now, of course, cards, they're going to go in a small bubble mailer. So, that goes into the box. The thing that would worry me about a comic book is that if you don't put it in something very, very rigid, I've had comic books show up in my mailbox. If you've seen a mailbox, they're not as wide as a comic book.
You get destroyed by various postal carriers.
And even when they have a cardboard backer in them to make them, like not easily bendable, it's going to go in there. So I would probably use.
If you've got something near and dear to your heart, if you've got, your the one I guess it's my bucket list thing I wanted eventually, Spider-Man 129, the first appearance of the Punisher. That's my idea of an expensive comic book, right? Even with FedEx and DHL or carrier pigeons or whatever, I'm like you. I don't know about other people handling this. But if you go to the big conventions, the company, they do a giant show in Houston every year. Austin has Wizard World. They got not the little show, in the Holiday Inn, the big shows. These grading companies do on-site grading. CGC does on-site grading. It's more expensive. It's say, $40 as opposed to $20 if you mail it to them, but they'll do it right there. You can hand them your expensive, precious book. It'll be, 30 minutes to an hour. They go through it with the jeweler's loop, put it in the slab, give it back to you right there. That's probably the best way to do it if you've got something you really want to take care of.
I don't even want to know what that goes for anymore, that Spider-Man 129, because I had it at one point in my life.
No, the heartbreaker for me is New Mutants 98, because I had chance after chance after chance after chance to buy that thing for like $10, $15 and never did it. And then some movie came out that shot the value up, and now you can't find one for under $300. That's my biggest screw up.
Yeah, at one point I had my hands on some really nice comic books that included that first Punisher, that Death of Green Goblin, who's not dead, Death of Gwen Stacy, who's also not dead. And these 3 issues of Incredible Hulk that had this guy pop in for a while to fight Wendigo.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Some Canadian we never heard from again.
Some Canadian, cigar chomping guy with claws. God, I want to cry.
I have the reprint of those, just because I wanted to read it. That story, and then like Weapon X with Barry Windsor Smith later on, that was pretty fully cooked from the beginning. I was impressed.
Yeah, it was a classic. Those classic character first appearances are what I was always after. At one point when I was in college, I was a huge Teen Titans fan because the new Teen Titans were out, and I had made sure I'd bought every issue of New Teen Titans, even the Baxter runs. I was getting them in parallel when that happened. But I'd gone to the smaller shows, and I was buying Teen Titans, and I had I'd grown up with the Hardy, the Haney Cardy, hard for me to say those 2 names together, runs. So I had seen some of those classic stories that they had done there before it really got really bad in the late 40s, early 50 issues. But I said, I'm going to fill it all in. I'm going to do that. And I had Brave and the Bold number whatever it was with Robin, Kid Flash, and Aqualad, which was technically the first appearance of the Teen Titans, even though they didn't use that name. But you get out of college and you get these things called electric bills and gas bills and all these things that you were just thought came out of faucets and out of switches, and suddenly you have to find ways to get green stuff to hand over to them to keep those things happening.
And also, no one can predict the future. Nobody. Trust me, I'm kind of in the future predicting business. It's hard to do. Do you remember Scud the Disposable Assassin?
Loved Scud the Disposable Assassin.
Exactly. Back when I was in high school, that was like a badge of cool if you had Scud the Disposable Assassin. It's like, it was a very, I guess that was the beginning of like the Oni Press and, the cool guy stuff as opposed to the superhero stuff. And it's like the crowdfunding books from earlier. It's like those were in the dollar bins forever. And then all of a sudden it took off in value. And I mean, not like super expensive, but they're like $10 a piece now when they were 10 pesos a piece a little while ago. And it took me a while to figure out, why did this thing catch fire? Oh, because 2 of the creators that worked on that book, Rob Schrab and Dan Harmon, made this TV show called Community. And the Community fans discovered that book. So,
okay. Yeah. Did a similar thing happen with Ben Edlund's The Tick when they had the TV shows for that?
Yes, but the difference there is that the Tick was never like licensed. Or maybe in modern years it has, but in the old days, NEC, the New England Comics, they were the ones that printed, distributed, and manufactured. That was an in-house operation. So there are like 28 printings of the Tick #1. It is not a big deal to find the Tick #1. It's a fun thing. People will enjoy it, but yeah, there's very little resale value there because there's a lot of them.
Okay.
It may not have sold 1 million copies in 1 month like the X-Men #1 did. It probably sold 1 million copies over 20 years.
Okay. For those in the chat who don't know what Scud the Disposable Assassin was, by the way, this was a science fiction series, comedy series, where anybody could assassinate anybody else with a disposable assassin that came out of a vending machine. And you put your money in the vending machine, and the Scud would step out. And I forget what Scud stood for, but it was an acronym. But it basically meant for disposable assassin. And it actually said on the back, there was a little label that said, program your mission in here, it will complete the assassination, and then it will self-destruct. So Scud gets his mission. He shoots the guy he's supposed to shoot. It's near fatal. He's moving in for the kill, and he trips, and he basically is twisted up, and he sees the label on his back and realizes that as soon as he kills the guy, he's going to self-destruct. So he very much now wants to make sure that this guy is out of the picture, but doesn't die. So he has to take on all these side gigs of an assassin to keep this guy on life support. He's paying the hospital to keep this guy alive, his original target. So he's taking all these other jobs, and they're just crazy, off the wall.
I can't remember their names, but there's 3 mafia guys in the series that are kind of a parallel to 3 Stooges, and I really enjoyed them. And I skipped a step there. that I guess that's the opposite of, the card where the Menendez brothers were on there and all the serial killer people want it. That the new demand in Scud the Disposable Assassin is all the TV fans that like Community coming back and discovering the creator's old work. But I forgot they made another show after Community. Rick and Morty is their show.
Ah, well, there you go. Yeah,
there we go. Yeah,
Community probably wasn't so much of a comic book fan, but Rick and Morty is going to be that'll drive that.
Yep.
I got
worth mentioning. You reminded me a minute ago. You said the Green Goblin. I really enjoyed this one, the Saga of the Red Goblin. It's basically what's it? I was about to say Norman Bates, not Norman Bates. Norman Osborn. He gets the Carnage symbiote, and then all hell breaks loose. Very, very good story. But as you can tell, I ordered the hardback off of Amazon when this came out, and because I just wanted the whole thing at once. I really liked the way the colors and the art and everything look in here. I really like what Marvel did, where the Red Goblin has different word balloons than the rest of the characters. But we got $34.99. This ain't going up. These collected editions don't have the increases in price. There's not the collector's demand. It's kind of like the DVD. Unless something really crazy happens, a DVD is just a DVD. So your investment opportunities are still in the floppies. I hate that word. I like single issues, but that's the collector's item. This is a book.
But you know what? Every once in a while, that doesn't hold true, because I got
not always.
In comic books, they've been doing these for a while here, these showcase deals. This is just black and white reprints of the comics that are out there. It's a cheaply done thing. But I've been to half price books before where I've found these trade paperbacks and these showcase like things, and I've walked up to the counter and said, I think this is priced wrong. I don't think this is a $90 book. And they say, oh, let's look. And they look it up on eBay or whatever it is. And they're like, oh, yeah, because it's been out of print for 5 years and everybody wants it. So sometimes the trade paperback will actually go up.
I know that specifically with the DC Showcase and the Marvel Essentials, those were very popular. And they printed a cajillion copies. And as recently as 2018, I could get those for $5 a piece. But then Marvel replaced them with the Epic collections. The Epic collections aren't in order like the Essentials are. They skip around all over the place, and there's different series. I've got one with the Silver Surfer that has like Marvel Comic Presents stories in it. And the Essential collections are preferred. What really gets weird is the second tier characters like Moon Knight and Ghost Rider and those people, those are the triple digit ones. Those have spiked in price bad. Yes, I've noticed that too. And you think the publishers would do something about that, but I don't know. I'm not in their heads. I don't understand their decisions.
You've really got to have a crystal ball to guess, a hardcover or a paperback's going to go up. Other ones that I invested in hardcover before, and again, I don't even know. I guess it all depends on whether or not they keep it in print and keep them out. Things like the archive. These were not cheap, by the way. When I had to go without eating when I picked these up for $39.95 cover price, and this is $39.95 30 years ago when $39.95 was real money. Not you can't even crowdfund a comic book now for $39.95 once the shipment's involved, and that's a floppy. This was like, walking through, I forget what, somebody had a set up in a mall, and they had both of them there. It was like $80. And my wife's like, do we have enough gas to get home if you do this? That kind of a stressor. And I'm like, yeah, I think I do. But I don't know if those kind of things do. Is there a market for the hardcovers?
There are for those, the Marvel Masterworks. My vocabulary may be wrong here, but the things that get treated like coffee table books, that they're not on a bookshelf, they're not tossed in the attic somewhere, they're prominently displayed. Hey, look at this. I guess that's the X factor you're looking for. And it goes back to the why. Why do we care about this stuff at all? Why does some of it go in the recycling bin and some of it spikes in value? That has a lot to do with it. Is there's people, they want that nice version.
Yeah, and of course, if the hardcover is the only version that exists, Arkham Asylum, Dave McKean's and Grant Morrison's book, it was a hardcover and it was a soft cover. It wasn't ever floppies in the first place, so it's not like it was a reprint. It was an original.
It's a weird combination of factors. If I could tell a mildly heartbreaking story here, we know Cerebus and Dave Sim.
Yeah.
Austin Books and Comics here in Austin. No, here in San Antonio. Local store in my neighborhood. They have Dave Sim original art, 6 pages for $90. That's 15 pages or $15 a page for original art. That's a one of one. Scarcity doesn't guarantee ever anything, because the flip side of what you just said, these Marvel Essentials and DC showcases, it's not beyond the pale to imagine there's 500,000 copies of those printed and they're vanishing because the people who buy them are keeping them. They're not going on sale, not as often enough to keep up with demand.
Sure. And and accidents are going to happen. People are going to keep them on shelves. They're going to get dinged up. I've got, as much as I love that greatest Batman stories that I showed you there, the dust jacket on this thing is just getting eaten up at the very bottom here because it's been on this bookshelf, packed up, moved to another bookshelf, packed up, I've moved around, just sitting there. Books get damaged.
Okay, the writer with the wretched last name, help me out here. Chuck Palahniuk, the guy who wrote Fight Club.
Yeah, I know the guy.
However you say that, he's one of my favorite writers. I'm getting the dust cover damage just because I keep rereading the book so much. They're always in motion and in use. So
I always take the dust jacket off whenever I give a book to somebody to read and bring back. So you don't need this. I'm going to take it off. I take it off when I read them myself now. And finally, I finally got around to
damage them.
I finally got around to where I'm like, I just need to flip my autographed books because they're just going to go down in value the longer I hold on to them. So, my Prisoner of Azkaban, I was like, better sell this while the dust jacket still has no nicks in it. My three issue, all 3 books of the Hunger Games trilogy signed by Suzanne Collins. First 3 books of what was it? Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare. It's like, just go to Half Price Books and say, here they are. And by the way, here's the page you're really interested in. That's when, their eyes light up. St. Louis, our Half Price Books is in University City, which, as you can guess, is a big college town. You can sell anything with Neil Gaiman's name on it there, and it will command a price. For some reason, they're huge into Neil Gaiman in that particular area in that college town. So,
we have the same phenomenon here, but ours is driven by the University of Texas. So here's some names you've heard before: Matthew McConaughey, his autograph is worth something. Vince Young. Hey, no matter how much he keeps screwing up in life, people just keep forgiving him his 8th and 9th and 50th chance. Ricky Williams. That's a complicated guy. People have strong opinions about him. I'm a big Ricky Williams fan. I like him a lot. But you go to, I don't know, Cleveland, they could care less. He's still worth something here.
Well, and it's not like Neil Gaiman is from St. Louis.
But that's just an area where he has a lot of fans.
Exactly. You listen to 5 words out of his mouth, there's not going to be a farty far in there at all. Which that's St. Louis accent.
That's the kind of stuff I pay attention to. Do you remember a punk band called Face to Face from back in the 90s?
Oh, God, yeah, barely.
They came out at the same time as like Rancid and Green Day and The Offspring and Blink-182, but they were the notch below, For whatever reason, I could never figure out, they had the biggest following in Houston. There was a club called Fitzgerald's. Every time they were in town, they'd sell it out. And it's just, here's the one city that's crazy about you guys. It sounds like what St. Louis is with Neil Gaiman.
Apparently, at least in University City, which is, like I said, it's a college town.
But you mentioned getting rid of the autographed books. Not about autographs, but getting rid of stuff. I'd have a similar thought, and that is my old cassette tapes.
Is it too late?
No, I've been selling them off now. And here's where the story gets weird. That all of these I bought in the 90s or earlier. I think everything is 97 or before. And I'm a condition freak. Condition's everything. So a little bit of the song titles got scratched from going in and out of the tape player. But other than that, this thing's in great condition. And if you hadn't watched the news lately, Senior Ice Cube has been a hot topic. And plus, this other guy, Dr. Dre, he did something with his life. This is still fondly remembered. Great album. Yeah, no one would care if the songs weren't on it. But I've got one working tape player. It's kind of iffy on its own. I would hate to. I'm trying to play something and damage it. By the way, the internet exists and we can listen to all this stuff on Spotify. So I'm with you, like how you are with the books, of like someone else could probably enjoy this. I got my money's worth out of it. What I've noticed is with the younger kids. When I say younger kids, I'm talking under 25. People that I have limited interactions with. That they buy these cassettes not because they want to listen to it, but they want to put it on their desk. They want to show it to their buddy. It's a bragging points, bad to cool thing as opposed to something I'm going to actively listen to. But I'm getting that fear in the back of my head of get rid of these while they're still worth something, because what's not worth anything is the DVDs. Everything's on Netflix. Everything's on YouTube. Who has a working DVD player anymore?
I got 3 of them in the house, and
but yeah, I'm guessing you're a dedicated movie person, not someone who just watches The Simpsons on Sunday and football or whatever.
Well. Plus, I always like the fact that Spotify can close down, and any songs I've owned on it, I don't own anymore because I don't own them in the first place. I've just rented storage space on there perpetually. But no one's going to come into my house and pry my DVDs from my cold dead hands. I don't think. I could be wrong.
I love the story of Ice Cube and Body Count, which, for those who don't know, are not Ice Cube, Ice-T. Ice-T, once upon a time, was a hardcore gangster rapper before he became a cop on Law and Order. In between there, he started a metal band called Body Count, which is a legit metal band. They kind of sound like a mix of Black Flag and Slayer and Suicidal Tendencies. And it started off as like a project on the weekends and just took a life of its own. They got national controversy for releasing a song called Cop Killer. And of course, like Dan Quayle and the Charlton Heston and all the stick up their ass crowd had a big problem with it. It's just a song. Okay. If you don't like the song, listen to something else. So flash forward to 2019, 2020, whatever year we're in. And that Body Count album is finally on Spotify after all these years. But guess what song is not on Spotify? Cop Killer's not on there. So if you don't have that physical copy, you don't really have it.
Yeah, physical copies are important. And
I've never liked digital comic books. I've done all the downloads. I don't want to read that on my phone.
I don't. It's not the same experience, and you can't sell your digital comic to somebody else later on. And you certainly can't get your iPad signed by the writer, which was. I have a database. I've had it I designed it in tells you how old it is. I designed it in 19-something, 88. I was fresh out of college, and I just learned, relational databases and stuff. And there wasn't a product that would support it yet. All we had was DBase 3 and DBase 3 Plus, rather. And the reason it was called DBase 3 was that you could have 3 tables in your database, and that was it. And this thing required like 18 of them. So I shelved it, and then Microsoft came out with Access several years later, and I brought it out, and I put it all in, and lo and behold, it worked. But the database was for my comic books. And the reason I needed 18 tables, and I needed, codes for everything from lookup tables because it was going to grow, was so that I could say, convention is coming to Chicago again. Show me everything in my system from 1984 to 1989 that George Perez did the cover and Marv Wolfman did the interior first story, and it has an appearance. But I could narrow things down by all kinds of selection criteria.
That's some serious cross-referencing.
There was. It was, but it all made sense to me. Now, of course, it took forever to data entry, but the screen was there. Just you just kept cycling through loops. But I did that because I wanted to be able to take my books and have them signed by people. I was huge on that. Now, of course, comic book companies don't go to comic book conventions anymore unless you're San Diego or New York.
And even then, they're pushing other stuff. It's like the comic books got in the back corner by the bathroom, and now it's all whatever movies come. Yeah, I'm not into that. But hey, if you want to talk about the difference between now and then, and how, hey, our current situation here in 2020, it's real easy to sit there and complain and talk smack about stuff. But the technology, if you don't know what it was like back then before it existed, it took you forever to make that database where you could cross-reference it and find it. Here in 2020, I'm not trying to give these people free advertising, but it's a good thing I use. There's a stashmycomics.com online database. If I'm going through a comic book store, convention, whatever, it's, ooh, do I have this? I hate accidentally buying a double. Now I can pull my phone out and make sure I don't accidentally buy a double.
Yeah. Sort It is another app. We've got all our DVDs are on Sort It. It's an iPhone app. They make the movie collection, which I think the movie collection held up to so many. And then if you wanted it, you could buy it for like $5. I bought it. I immediately went out and bought the $5 comic book one. And the way it works is, you're like, hit the plus sign to add a comic, scan the barcode. If it's already in the system that somebody's entered it, there's all your data. If it's not, then you entered in, and of course you've entered it for the next person who signs the barcode. They'll get the same information, including the picture you take of your cover. But it's easy entry. It's like bloop, 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 bloop.
Yeah, you're not typing for 12 straight hours entering data.
No, now I will be, because I happen to have several boxes that won't have a barcode on them, and I'm going to have to. And they have a search function as well. You can search by title and issue and have it pull up. So there's a little bit of typing. Anytime it's not there, though, you're going to have to type stuff in.
I want to clarify what I said about DVDs earlier. I am not slamming the entire medium of DVDs. What it is that store Big Lots?
Yes.
I guess it was Christmas time, beginning of the year. They had the South Park season sets, season 4 and whatever, and they were like, I think $6 each. And so my inner merch flippers, like, hey, I could probably buy the $6 DVD set and maybe get something at it. What I was talking about are the big, huge mainstream hits, not like kung fu movies or horror movies or stuff. I know those have like dedicated fans. The big things, Chappelle Show, Family Guy, don't bother. Because that $6 set, I went and looked online, and go for $6 online. So if I do that transaction, I'm just giving $4 to the post office for no reason and getting nothing out of it. That's what I mean about no value.
Walk around half price books or Big Lots and look at their bins. Have your declutter app up on your phone and just scan barcodes and see if you can. It's like, it's $6. Oh, it's $12. Put that in the cart.
yeah, and that's at half price books. I found a very rare Alice in Chains record. I would go over there and get it, but I'm too lazy to stand up. But live in the Hollywood Palladium, like, there was 3 songs off Dirt, but the rest of it was Facelift. So it must have been like 91 when they recorded that. That's the only copy of this I've ever seen in my life. I saw that in there as a yoink. I'll take this. Thank you.
Yeah, I love hitting stores like that, where, especially if you find something that, for whatever reason, didn't get priced correctly.
And you got to know whatever you're into. I guess that's my message to the youth. Whatever you're into, whatever you collect, learn the history of it, because that's going to be the difference maker in making those on-the-spot decisions. That's how you don't pass over something good.
Yeah.
You don't miss the New Mutants 98 like I did.
You talk about the people who are buying the cassette tapes just for a desk decoration. You can tell if they know what the cassette tape was for or not if you hand them a number 2 pencil and say, rewind it.
Yeah.
And if they don't understand it, they weren't there. And they haven't used it.
Or you tell them, it's like, hey, be sure you don't leave this in the car, huh? Heat'll damage it.
Yeah. Don't put it near a magnet.
No. I see people do that with their credit cards all the time. It's like, I guess it's an accident or they don't think about it, but there goes that one. You're going to be on the phone with them today.
Yep. How do you get your credit card near a magnet anyway? I mean, it's
one like when you're at Best Buy and they have the D magnet strip, they'll just set that thing right down on there.
Oh, well, that would definitely do it. Yep. I was thinking of this will date me. the secretary in my student services office who would take the floppy disk and just put it on her metal board with a magnet all the time, and it doesn't work again. You gotta quit doing that.
Plus the memory on those. You used to think this holds like what 40 megabytes. Oh man, oh, please. That's
yeah. And that database that I was talking about with lookups. I mean, I had a lookup table for artist names, a lookup table for titles, a lookup table for publishers, so that my main core table that was actually representing a book was like 50, 27, 306, because that took up a lot less space than DC Comics, Detective Comics, George Perez, and then everything else, because space mattered. Now it's like, why are you doing all this lookup things? You're just slowing things down. You've got gigs to work with here. It's a terabyte drive.
I'm like that. I guess it's the inner writer of, I don't abbreviate. I don't have shorthand. I type out full titles, full names. I just want to read what it is and not have any guessing involved.
Exactly. Well, you know what? I think we've exhausted our topic for tonight.
Yeah, that was a good one. I really hope somebody out there learned something, got something out of this, makes smart decisions. This whole collectibles world, first, it should be fun. It shouldn't be a chore. And then it's what you make of it. Don't worry about the trends. Don't worry about I call them the internet Jesus. You fill in the blank of who these people are, but they think that if I listed a person X, it's going to solve all my problems. Follow your heart. Follow your muse. Don't listen to them.
Exactly. Wear what you dig. Everybody should go out and visit. Well, that's not supposed to happen. Looks like we both died there. Okay, sorry about that. If you were coming in, everybody left. All right, Brian is gone, and I'm just going to basically put up his eBay store here. This is where you would go to visit Brian on eBay. Definitely go out and check out BlastBeatATX. Pick up some collectibles out there. Hit the enter on that. This is, of course, in the description below, but I just want to end the show on a non-mistakable note. I don't know why my network adapter keeps failing on this machine at least once a day. It's done it twice to me now in stream. So if anybody's got any ideas about a Lenovo ThinkPad Wi-Fi adapter and why I have to keep resetting it to reconnect to my internet, it's not my router. My router's fine. It's definitely this machine. So that's a problem for another day. Anyhow, thank everybody for coming by here. Appreciate you coming in. It's fun to talk with Brian about things going on in the market with both the comic books, the sports cards, all the other collectibles that are out there. If you would like to, do this again, let us know, and we will have Brian back. I think it'd be fun, maybe every couple of weeks, to come in and talk about what's happening in the aftermarket, and we can make this sort of a regular thing. Until then, I'm RJ Carter with Critical Blast, and we will see you again Maybe tomorrow, if somebody wants to do something with their comic book crowdfunding, hit us up on our Twitter at Critical Blast. We can DM. DMs are open. Otherwise, we'll be back Monday with Jason Cook to talk about his comic book, Blake Undying. Until then.